Hey, bud. What are you doing down there? Are you hiding in the grass? And you want to go inside? You're in stealth mode, Mr. Toms. No one can see you hiding there. All right. It's nice out so far, but got the table outside with that metal on there, which means gonna start working on that tailgate table. One of the beauty things of having a 3D printer is the ability, of course, to print things. I 3D printed a lens cover for the DJI Osmo action camera so I don't damage the lens, much like I did for the GoPro Session a while ago. Now, of course, one of the first things we want to do is measure out what we want to do and then trace that out. This is where we got to plan it because you only get one shot with the metal we have. So we're going to look at 22. Let's go 20 inches. 20 inches by roughly 12. So I got the vents on the back of the TJ, so I can't butt it up against the vents. Plus I got this. So I'm going to have to look at least a 1/2 inch spacer. Yeah, this will work out good because I'm about 16 inches of usable space, so I can utilize as much of that as possible. So instead of just having it a unified square, I'm gonna 45 corners off, shrink it down by another 1/2 inch to bend it back. This side will be bent back. These lips will be bent forward. And that will give me the integrity that I need. So I got my layout here. This and then straight across is going to be cut out. This is going to be bent back. That's all cut out. Now, all that being said, I cannot cut straight, even if my life depended on it. And I don't know, I think a jigsaw might be kind of a pain in the ass. I was going to use a jigsaw, but realized that would take forever. So now everything is cut out. I'll put this in the bender now. Really, ultimately, doesn't matter. So I'm going to take this, bend that up 90 degrees. So every time you do your first bend, you gotta plan the rest of your bends out. I think even though I said plan your bends carefully, I think this last bend is gonna be pretty hard to do, I think. You can see right there how I have that kind of set up. I just need to build the bottom piece. The second one is drawn out. The idea is to get it to fold up to the pretty much same dimensions as that one. That's to be determined. So I have to cut an extra piece here, because I messed up but I'm gonna fix that right now. Perfect. And then up. like so. Flip it back down, around. So I got everything laid out as far as how my halves are going to go. I just got to drill the holes for the hinge, and hopefully I don't screw that up. Still not sure what I'm going to use yet to tie it down. I got to figure that out, that way that it can hang from the back of my Jeep and sit flush. Still going to need to weld some tabs underneath, but I want to see roughly, yeah, if I go 9 inches by about 16, should be good. So now I just quickly designed my tailgate spacers to accommodate for that vents in the back and sent it over to the 3D printer to print. It's just heating up now and start printing right away. So this is the beauty, what I like about summertime. I can throw the table outside, work on stuff, so it's not so cluttered in the garage. I'm just gonna clean up right now though and flip the Jeep around in the garage to do the oil pressure sender, and then continue working on the tailgate table. And then, yeah, this project's actually coming along pretty good. I'm pretty impressed so far. I think the tailgate table is going to come out pretty good. Kind of wish I had a powder coat oven that was that size, but for the first one, I'm just going to paint it with some automotive paint or rust paint, and then down the road, once I get that, what the heck did I buy a long time ago? I'm having a brain fart. The bead roller, yes. When I assemble the bead roller, I want to do another one using the bead roller to do some designs. I think that'd be all right. Want to say it's an absolute beautiful day out. The sun is shining, dandelions are growing. I didn't come out yesterday because it was rainy and 8 degrees, so I'm going to work on the oil pressure gauge today. However, yesterday for the tailgate table, I picked up some hardware I needed. The magnets came in, and I wasn't sure what kind of tapered screws I would need, so I got 1032 and 832. And then, of course, with the 3D printer, I 3D printed some spacers for the tailgate table at the back. Now, that being said, you do not need the backsplash on a TJ for the tailgate table. I did it on the one that I'm building. However, I'm talking to Fedor, see if he wants, because I have an extra bottom piece that I built that I made some changes, so I'm seeing if he wants to incorporate doing a tailgate table without the backsplash, so I could show you both options that I came up with. Okay, so let's work on getting this oil pressure sender installed. That way I can monitor everything. Probably going to get the tack ordered up this week, and once I get the tack ordered up, the Novak emulator is going to come out. And then I have that 6-pin Deutsch connector that I'm going to repurpose and run those wires to the tack. So I'm not trying to do a whole bunch of extra stuff. So yeah, before we get started on this, or should I say before I get started on this, a couple days ago I did a thing. By a thing I mean it was time for me to disconnect from social media. For the last, I don't know how many years, I had a Twitter account that I used. I kept up to date on the news and the media and to see what was going on, and with all the present current events, and I just couldn't take it anymore. There's just, Twitter, in my opinion, is not good for your fucking mental health. Any type of political post, there's so many bots in there, and all it is just fueling the fire. So I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I got tired of all the bullshit. I think a lot of the problems that you see going on right now in the world is because of social media, because information is spread so fast. And if somebody has a narrative based on incomplete truths or false truths, you could spread that narrative to the people who don't fact check because they just want to belong to something. And yeah, that's basically how it all starts. I just got tired of it, so I deleted my fucking Twitter account, and yeah, it feels so much better. There's only so much BS you can put up with. But now let's get to work. So now that I got the cover off, I want to point this out to you guys. I use the aluminum connector right there from Novak, and then back there I put a 90 to run the vacuum line. It wasn't that the 3D printer part was a fail. It was that I noticed that after you get a lot of heat, it starts getting soft. So I didn't want to have any issues down the road. But this is one of the things you trial and error. If I can print it on the ABS, it might be a totally different story. So now to get to where the oil pressure sender is, it is right down that hole. There's no guarantees, but the Jeep factory sender seems to be a 27 mil, so I might be able to bust it free like that, and it's turning. And it's turning, which is good. That's what we want, right? Spin this out. Spin this out by hand. There we go. I'm gonna point this out, and I know some people are totally guilty of it. With the sender, it grounds through the thread. So when you put your thread tape on, some people get a little bit too liberal, and they coat it so much that they think they have to like keep on wrapping it. So you absolutely cannot see the threads anymore. That's not how it works. So I got the sender tightened down. It's actually a metric. It's a 14 mil, but a 9/16 worked as well to try to get my hand in there. Now, if you want to verify that it's indeed grounded, I got my multimeter here. You want to set it to ohms. See right here, if I touch the alternator, you can see it gives me a resistance value. So that's the same down there. As you touch it to, my big hand's in the way, you touch it to the sender where your electrical connection is going to be bolted right there. And then you can look at the gauge, and since I'm reading resistance, I know that we got a ground, so we're good. So yeah, I went inside, had a quick lunch. Yeah, it didn't take long. Back to rain. So I got everything pulled out where the gauge is gonna go. I didn't film that because it's irrelevant to mostly anybody. Now I had the clock in there before, so that's gonna be a full-time power, which I don't need. I need to tap into an ignition on, so that's what I need to figure out in this mess. So now I just got all the wires ran. I could feed that back into the housing, tighten it up. Well, there it is. Turn on the light. Yeah. And then the oil sender wire is ran. There I am, done. Oil pressure gauge is installed. Turn this thing back around and continue working on the tailgate table. So now the gauge is installed, everything's back together. It's the moment of truth now. See if it's gonna work. Make sure it's in park. So I'm pretty happy with the oil pressure. Cold idle, it's about 50 psi. What I need to do is pull everything out of the back, because if I'm going to start driving it around, I don't want to have all my parts in there. I was just checking all my fluids. I'm going to have to pick up some more antifreeze tonight because my reservoir is empty. After driving it for a bit, the engine block and everything else would have burped, so pick up another 4 liters, fill up this little reservoir tube, and I'll be good to go. It's got engine oil, transmission. Give you guys a pro tip. See the brake line rubbing against the shock, and let's take a rubber hose, cut it, slide it down the middle, slide it over top, and you got a protector for your lines. Just got to empty this out. I got my Artec truss, gears, bearing rebuild kit, brake lines in the back. And I was just pondering, because I got that bar a little while ago, that seatbelt bar for aftermarket. But I'm trying to think how I'm going to build the slide out for my Dometic cooler and everything else as soon as I'm finished building the fold down table there. So what I got is I got the dimple die right here, and I was thinking about doing one line with 3, another line with 2, another line with 3, kind of break it up. And these are the best things, these snap locks. Just kind of, basically that's how it works. And your bit just pops out. Never slips. Never slips in the drill. Best thing ever. I wanted to get one in the middle here, but my press isn't wide enough. But I can do this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Hope I don't live to regret this. Oh, I think that'll look all right. This little press is sure come in handy, but at the same time, you're really limited to what you can do. There we go, turned out all right. In case if no one's ever seen dimple dies before, that's how they work. And then use a press to press down. So you can either have the die go inner or outer, obviously depending on how your preference is. I just quickly assembled it again. Took some measurements. What I'm going to need to do for the spacers as far as the magnets go. So I'm going to have a hole drilled somewhere right around here that the spacer and the magnet's going to go on. So when I close it, magnets are going to hold it together, and it'll be wide enough I can get my fat sausage fingers in there and be able to open her up again. I think that's looking good. Alright, go for one last rip and get some coolant. Just drove down to Canadian Tire. About 40 psi hot. In all honesty, I just topped up the reservoir, but as you can see, that little tube was nothing compared to what the old jug was. You're gonna have to keep an eye on. Another pro tip: if you ever want to get overspray off of your window, just use a razor blade. I do think it's motherfucking beer time now. What do I feel like? We're just gonna have another old Pilsner. Alright everybody, motherfucking beer time. We accomplished quite a bit in this video. We started building the tailgate table, installed the oil pressure gauge, and then tomorrow is supposed to be nice. Last couple days it's been raining, and I want to take the Jeep out on a long drive. I think it's good for its first long drive to really test it out. I'll take it on probably like 150-kilometer loop. But anyways, instead of talking, let's crack open this beer. Pilsner, motherfucking beer time. So yeah, so I'm hoping tomorrow I'll be able to fly the drone finally. Bought the drone a while ago and haven't been out in the bush to really give it a whirl, so I'm pretty stoked on that. Hopefully the weather's gonna be good and I'll be able to find a place I could piss around with it. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. We're gonna find out tomorrow if that thing's gonna break down on a little trip or not. Running pretty solid so far. Time will tell. Tomorrow will be the judgment day.